This is Wraith, my small form factor tempered glass NCASE M1 gaming and work PC that truly has been fantastic to me. But there are a couple things that I really have to address with you guys today. Let me explain. You see, Wraith started out its life with a 3700X and an EVGA XC Ultra 2080 Ti, a very powerful system. And my original intent was to go absolutely all out. We're talking tempered glass mod, custom sleeve cables, water cooling to the max, and an RGB solution that would make your eyes water. And although the tempered glass solution went extremely well, actually, I'll have more information on that linked in the video description for you. I never actually managed to get round to any other project for this build, and there's one primary reason for that. This is the TechLens production machine. This is the machine that I edit all the videos on for the channel. If I need to fix an issue or tinker with something for an exciting project, that has an impact. If I want to do custom sleeve cable sets, if that takes me a few days, that's a few days that I can't spend on this computer editing something else for you guys. In fact, even making this video, one of the last videos that I'll be editing on this machine, is a huge risk. And I don't want that to have an impact on the videos for you guys. Which is why I've decided Wraith will soon no longer be editing any of the videos on the TechLens channel. Instead, I will build a separate production machine. But what that means is that I can return Wraith to a gaming machine, gaming only and tinkering. It means that it will no longer be part of my workflow. And that allows me to do all of the exciting projects that I've wanted to do with this machine. Hopefully when I'm done, the ultimate NCASE M1 gaming machine. And of course, I'll be taking you guys along for the journey. But even if you don't have an NCASE M1, this should still provide tons of inspiration for your own builds. So today, to start this journey again, Wraith is getting a major performance upgrade, including an RGB upgrade that is going to be out of this world. Let's get into this. So before we basically rebuild this entire computer and implement the best RGB solution that we can, we should talk about what we're upgrading and what we're keeping, because it's kind of a mix of both. Let me show you. We are keeping the 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance 3600 memory, a total of 2.5 terabytes of PCIe Gen 3 storage, and also the Corsair SF750 power supply, which means that we're actually replacing quite a few things. First things first is the motherboard. We're upgrading from X570 to B550. Now, that doesn't sound like an upgrade to many people. B550 is actually of a lower product tier compared to X570. But there's something about this board that is a significant upgrade for me, and there's not much that I'd be giving up by going to it. So more on that in a bit. And while swapping that out, we're also going to be upgrading from 3700X to a 5800X. Now, this is going to not introduce too much more heat into the system, but it's going to be a very sensible gaming upgrade. It's still 8 cores, 16 threads, but it's higher IPC and higher clocks, which means that'll be a great gaming upgrade. And to top it off, we're going from the 3070 to a 3080 Founders Edition. Now, this is going to be a huge FPS boost for us, and I'm really quite excited about that. But there's one more thing that we're gonna do, and it's linked to this cooler. We've got the same Noctua NH-U9S, but in black. But we've also got 92mm addressable RGB fans from Johnsbow. Now, these are very unique and pretty hard to come by. But let's get this thing disassembled. And that is the NCASE M1 pretty much disassembled, or everything that we need to anyway. You guys may have noticed this on the front. I'll speak more about that in a bit. So let me grab the B550 board and tell you why that's an upgrade over the X570 board. Let me show you. Okay, so I actually want to show you why the B550 is going to be an upgrade for me over the X570. And the way that I see it, the X570 does have 3 benefits over the B550. Benefit number 1 is a stronger VRM solution. I mean, both are good, but it is stronger. Benefit number 2 is that you have more rear I/O. And benefit number 3 is that you get PCIe Gen 4 to both M.2 slots. But what you gain is 2.5 gig Ethernet. Now that is going to be really important to some people, like it is for me. Now, if your house is wired for 10 gig, which is what I've done with mine, that's going to be a big benefit to you. All of my games, all of my editing files, they're all basically stored on there. And the whole house is wired up for 10 gig. But we've got a gigabit switch at the top and a 2.5 gig switch at the bottom. And I will upgrade it as I need to. But that NAS can also do a link aggregated 5 gigabit. So 2.5 gig really does matter to me. And that single benefit far outweighs the other 3, especially because, like I said, the VRM is very good on the B550. The rear I/O is what it is. I'll use the USB hub. And PCIe Gen 4, I don't need on both M.2 slots. 2.5 gig, I'm happy to make that trade-off. So let's put that motherboard into Wraith. Okay, so that is 2.5 terabytes Gen 3 storage installed into that. Bada bing, bada boom. Cryonaut, let's do it. It's going to look so good, I'm so excited. What I want to do is get the rest of the hardware in before we start thinking about the RGB solution, at which point I should pull out these Johnsbow fans. Now, as far as I can tell, other 92mm addressable RGB fans, they don't actually allow you to control the RGB, they're just a standard spin rainbow cycle. These Johnsbow ARGB 92mm fans seem to be the only ones that I can find that allow you to control the addressable RGB within. So I'm really quite excited to use them within this and elevate the RGB, as well as a few other accessories. These ones we have to implement now for the CPU cooler, but I'll show you the other ones in a bit too. So all of these fans in here, they use the 3-pin 5050-I RGB connector, which means that we can use the Commander Pro and adapt it using one of these Pirate Dog Tech adapters. I did a video on these a while ago, I'll show you that up there. And these are great for integrating other devices into Corsair iCUE. All that we need to do, very, very simply, is connect that end to the Commander Pro or Lighting No Pro, or other devices if you have one. It has to be an iCUE compatible device. And then on the other side, you just connect it to your RGB device. And that will allow iCUE to control it. So all that's left, front panel on, top panel on, and then last but not least, that slides on like so. Oof. That's going to look good. That's going to look really good. Let me show you. Well, god damn, that is pretty. Let me explain what went into it and how it all comes together, because it is quite interesting and quite unique. Right after a quick message from today's video sponsor. CDKOffers saves you money on software and game licensing, covering Steam, Origin, Uplay, PlayStation, PC, and more. I personally bought a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for a new build and was able to save an additional 20% off with my coupon code TLS. But the thing that I appreciated the most is that I was able to check out swiftly with PayPal, and the key was available for me to use within 2 minutes of purchase. All you need to do then is hit the Windows key, type activate, and then paste the key here to become fully activated. The next one that I'll be getting is Microsoft Office, as it's super cheap and there's no monthly subscription, unlike Office 365. So links to my favorite CDKOffers products will be in the video description for you, and don't forget to use the coupon code TLS for 20% off. So at the bottom, we've got two Arctic P12 ARGB fans that are intaking and hitting the GPU directly. We have a space in between them as well so that we can cleanly route the GPU power cable. This GPU power cable is actually a custom one that I bought off Amazon that will work with this power supply and the Founders Edition GPU. It just looks a bit cleaner than that awful adapter. But I've been meaning to find a reason to use these Arctic fans, and I'm so glad that I did on this build. They look fantastic, they move a ton of air, they're actually really quite quiet, and as a nice little bonus, they also provide underglow lighting for the NCASE M1, but they are very cost effective and they seem to perform incredibly well. Surrounding those fans, we have the Fantex Neon ARGB strip, which I think frames them incredibly well, and I'm very tempted to put another one around the exhaust fan. But speaking of the exhaust fan, the Johnsbow fans seem to perform really quite well actually. They're quiet, they seem to move a lot of air, and the RGB looks pretty damn good on them. Let me know if you want me to do some A/B comparison between, say, these and the NFA9s from Noctua, but they seem to be a very good option, especially if you're looking for 92mm ARGB fans. They tie the lighting together so well in this build. The last NCASE M1 tempered glass panel video that I did, I just basically threw some lighting into the case. And this is so much more cohesive, it looks significantly better. I even went to the trouble of custom cutting 2 ARGB strips and soldering them together, just going vertically and along the top of the case to give some accent lighting, which I think looks really quite good. But speaking of the lighting, let's pop off the front of the case, show you something cool and annoying at the same time. So what I have in the front here that I told you that I talked about earlier is a Commander Pro and a Lighting No Pro from Corsair. And with our Pirate Dog Tech adapters, we can use non-Corsair ARGB fans, strips, whatever we want within Corsair iCUE. So one channel handles the accent lighting, another controls the neon strip, and also one channel is used for all of the fans. But this wasn't easy or perfect. It didn't go 100% to plan, and there's something very, very stupid about it. The Commander Pro and the Lighting Node Pro both interface with the software through the internal USB 2.0 port. So if you only have one USB 2.0 internal port on your motherboard, like most motherboards nowadays, you need to use a USB 2.0 hub, which is perfect because the Commander Pro has a USB 2.0 hub. Now, the only problem is the Commander Pro's USB hub doesn't seem to be working. I'm not entirely sure if it's a problem with this Commander Pro, or I have seen online that there might be a compatibility issue between X570 and B550 boards and the Commander Pro's USB 2.0 hub. But essentially, the clean solution would have been the Lighting Node Pro connects to the Commander Pro and everything works in software. But because the USB 2.0 hub doesn't work, I've had to come up with an incredibly stupid solution to fix a ridiculous problem, which is a mini USB to Type A to run internally through the case to come out the backside and plug in so that I can interface with software. It's a stupid solution to fix a ridiculous problem and means apparently I'm not gonna have a third PCI slot cover. But I thought, you know what, why not route an internal Type-C externally while I'm at it? I'm already doing this stupid solution once. We might as well find more uses for it. This slot, I can't seem to find. I have no idea where I've misplaced that. And I decided to leave the I/O shield off intentionally. I promise it was intentional. I'm hoping that this will all help with airflow. But speaking of temperatures, there is one clever thing to having the Commander Pro in this solution. You see, there's fan ports on this side of the Commander Pro. And what that allows you to do is use IQ to control fans. And you can control them based on GPU temperature. So the Arctic P12s that we have intaking directly in front of the GPU fans, they are now controlled by the GPU's temperature, which I think is a fantastic solution for their placement. And when it comes to temperature, there is no point comparing the two systems. Essentially, 3700X and 3070 versus 5800X and 3080, one's going to be hotter and faster, the other isn't. That really doesn't tell us anything. But I am going to show you a couple of the tests that I run because when building a new system, it's always good to do some sort of benchmarking and thermal testing to make sure that there are no issues. It's not meant to be fully comprehensive, it's just a few tests that I do to make sure that everything's running okay. And it turns out, it is. With everything left stock other than XMP enabled, the 5800X managed to score 1,549 in Cinebench R23 single core. And when it comes to multi-core, it scored 14,164. Then during our stress test, we averaged out in the mid-80s at 80% fan speed, which is a pretty good result for this cooler and CPU combo, and kept our system really quite quiet. But when it comes to gaming, I only tested the game that I'm playing the most at the moment, which is Warzone. So during my gameplay, the GPU kept cool in the low 70s, with an average of almost 120 FPS, which is a really good result, especially as we haven't overclocked or undervolted the GPU. So there's a lot more optimizations that we can do here, but I'm sure that the GPU fan curve that's set up for the Arctic fans really help with those temperatures. So I am of course really happy with this build, but we are definitely not stopping here. So what's the next step for Wraith? Well, to be honest, throughout this build, the one thing that was annoying me the most was the cables. So the next video is likely going to be custom sleeve cables, and I think they have a way to do it both cheap and easy, so it should be quite a unique video. I've just got to build the editing rig before we can do that. Then I guess that we can water cool this beast? Stay tuned, this will be very evolutionary. So I hope this video has been fun and inspirational. Hopefully you can take some of the ideas from here and implement it into your own builds. I will make sure to leave all of the products used in the video description for you, so make sure that you check that out. But if you have any comments for me, any suggestions for me or the community, let me know in the comments section below. But get subscribed, turn on notifications, make sure that you don't miss upcoming TechLens content. There's going to be a lot more surrounding this build. Otherwise guys, a like is always appreciated. I'll see you in the next one.